This is the same cemetery that we visited and paid our respects to Peg Entwistle in, the woman who jumped from the Hollywood sign. Recently posted that video. But I was reading about someone who also is buried here, and the story was just so... I really just could not believe what had happened to this man and his life. So I wanted to share it with you guys today. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins right now. This one was really actually disheartening, beyond sad, because it was a young man who stole a poster while he was in North Korea and had his life forever changed. I believe he's buried right over here. This is the grave of Otto Warmbier. Otto was actually raised in Cincinnati, which is why he's buried here, but this was extremely sad, unbelievably sad. He was a student, and he was scheduled to do a study abroad program in Hong Kong in early 2016, and decided on his way there to stop and visit North Korea. He booked a tour with the Young Pioneers Tour, a budget tour operation company. His father would later say that Otto was just curious about the culture of North Korea. Boy, did he make a big mistake, because on December 29th of 2015, Otto flew Beijing to North Korea with a tour group, which included 10 other US citizens for a 5-day tour. The tour celebrated New Year's Eve by carousing in Pyongyang's Kim Il-sung Square before going back to their hotel. Now, according to his trial, it was stated that he went into an employees only area of the hotel at around 2 a.m. and stole a propaganda poster. Now, on January 2nd, the day after New Year's Day, he was arrested at Pyongyang International Airport while waiting for his departure from North Korea. It was said that no words were spoken. Two guards just came over, tapped Otto on the shoulder, and led him away. Just kind of quiet and nervously, one of his friends said to him, "Well, I guess that's the last we'll see of you." He said, "It was an irony of my words. That was it. The last physical time I saw Otto ever." Otto didn't resist. He didn't look scared. He sort of half smiled. It was announced on the plane that Otto was sick and that he wouldn't be flying on. That's what they told the tour company. But apparently they then announced, the Korean government, North Korean government announced that he was being basically treated as a terrorist, or that he was somehow trying to overthrow the government. Initially said that he was being detained for a hostile act against the state, and then wouldn't say anything else basically for the next 6 weeks. They said that in a press conference, he was forced to read a prepared statement confessing that he had attempted to steal a propaganda poster from a restricted staff area only from the second floor of the Yanggakdo Hotel to take home. The poster said, "Let's arm ourselves strongly with Kim Jong-il's patriotism. Damaging or stealing such items with the name or image of a North Korean leader is considered a serious crime by the government." They never really knew if the confession was forced or if he just did it because he thought maybe it would lessen the severity of his punishment, but he never got to come back because they sentenced him to 15 years hard labor. Unbelievable. Otto himself actually said that he tried to abandon the poster after seeing that it was too large for him to take with him. And the hotel staff member said, "When I got off work, there was nothing amiss, but when I returned, I thought someone had deliberately taken the slogan down So I mobilized security to prevent damage to it and reported it to the authorities. Otto's confession was, I never should have allowed myself to be lured by the United States administration to commit a crime in this country. I wish that the United States administration never manipulate people like myself in the future to commit crimes against foreign countries. I entirely beg you, the people, government of the DPRK, for your forgiveness, please. I made the worst mistake of my life. To which he was sentenced to 15 years hard labor. Now, his parents were encouraged to keep a low profile by President Obama because they were trying to work something out. But then, out of nowhere, on June 13th, 2017, Otto was released, except he was basically in a vegetative state. After 17 months in detention, they said that he had a foodborne botulism disease or something. He had gotten botulism from the food shortly after his sentencing and had fallen into a coma after taking a sleeping pill, which sound very bizarre. So they ended up releasing him because he was basically in a vegetative state, and then he was brought back to the US, and his parents had to eventually decide, because he was never going to get better. They did brain scans and everything showing that unfortunately there was severe damage to the brain. Otto ended up dying in the hospital on June 19th, 2017 at the age of 22 years old. Initially, a trip that just meant for him to go study abroad ended up in his death. President Trump issued a statement saying there's nothing more tragic for a parent than to lose a child in the prime of life. Our thoughts and prayers are with Otto's family and friends and all who loved him. The United States once again condemns the brutality of the North Korean regime as we mourn its latest victim. And this actually ended up leading to the United States cutting off tourism to North Korea, stating Otto's case and situation as being one of the main reasons, because when an autopsy was done, there was no proof that Otto had been harmed or beaten. There was no proof of any of that. So I guess his parents came out and made a statement completely blaming the North Korean government and stating that they had done that, but the man who did the autopsy issued a statement saying, I understand that they're in a tremendous amount of grief, and you know, they're going to interpret things the way that they want to interpret them, but basically that he did not see, because just the whole situation seems so strange, you know. Shortly after this American who's sentenced for stealing a propaganda poster and being accused of, they said it was a crime against the government, so they were looking at it somewhat as espionage on there, and they actually tried to accuse his church of somehow putting him up to it. But just crazy to think that shortly thereafter he would get this 15-year sentence, then he would get this botulism and then take a sleeping pill and just completely go into a coma. It just seems really bizarre. Really bizarre. I can't even imagine what I would feel like if I were his parents. You always hear of people committing stupid crimes when they're overseas and out of United States jurisdiction. Things like taking posters and things like that. The crime just does not match what the punishment is given. Rest in peace, Otto. My gosh, I hope nobody ever has to go through what you went through. I hope that that's never a case again. Take warning, all travelers. I mean, my friend Eric Singer gave me some really great advice when I traveled a lot outside the United States. He was in the band Kiss and Alice Cooper and several bands that traveled all over the world, and he said, Jordan, take this advice from me. Anytime you leave the country, especially somewhere that has very harsh laws on things, buy a brand new suitcase, a brand new bag. Don't take the risk of anything being in your bag that you've forgotten about, that they may not want you to have. Just always get a new bag before you do something like that. So do not commit a foreign crime, folks. Well, my friends, we're gonna call it a day. Thank you all for watching. Really sad story, really sad story, but things like this are the kind of stories that you need to hear and need to be reminded about. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.